Right, so we are just about to put some Biochar Amended Farmyard Manure on the small patch of reseed we did this year with a nice herbal lay. It's come fantastically well. To be honest, it's one of the success stories of this year. The dry weather has actually suited it, in that the herbs and the flowers and everything have really taken hold. We had a good take of pretty near everything. I mean, one of the crazy things now is we used to think when I was younger that a 12-foot gate was really big, but with today's modern kit it's getting a bit like tight, to say the least. But we're through. So yeah, it's this has been one of the success stories of the farm this year. Really, it's hasn't looked back from the get-go. In fact, it's one of the best spring reseedings we've ever done in my memory, to be honest, and very surprising considering the rest of the farm burnt to a crisp. Bar the hemp. I mean, the hemp did really well as well. Reseed on around about the 20th of May, so it was quite late. That was, you were just waiting for some rain to come, because I don't like to reseed and wait for rain. I want to know rain's coming before we do it, and then you just pray you get enough to get a good take, which luckily we did. But this farmyard manure is quite interesting, because I did a deal with the local beef feedlot that fattened 1,000 cattle at a time, called Pick Stocks. They got an R&D farm, and we've been supplying them with our biochar bedded, and they've been putting it on the beef lot. Because basically, when a cow pees, she pees urea, and when she mucks a big load of manure that's full of anaerobic bacteria. When the two mix normally at the feed barriers, that's where the majority of your ammonia is lost to the atmosphere in the form of a process called urease, where the anaerobic bacteria consume the urea, and then they convert it to ammonia, and that is what you smell is when you go to animal housing, etc. That is what all the smell is. I mean, even with this only being actually produced 6 weeks ago, loading the manure spreader and spreading this now, there is absolutely zero smell whatsoever, which tells me there's zero ammonia emissions. Well, I'm not saying zero, but pretty darn close. And this is what I'm starting to understand with biochar. What biochar does, it's a way of, in its simplistic form, it's a way of transferring as much of the nitrogen that comes out of the back of a cow onto the ground in a form that the plants and the microbiome use, rather than what we typically do with artificial fertilizers, which is ammonia related, where you only about 30-40% of what you put on is uptake, and you lose the rest to the atmosphere and to the rivers. The soil actually only manufactures the amount of free phosphate that it requires. It doesn't make extra. We've seen this on our soil results, where before we started using biochar and just using farmyard manure, we were deficient in available phosphate. It was I think 140, 150 ppm, and we needed about 200, 250. And when we did the recent soil test after 4 years of biochar amended manure, we were right up on the 250, so we're absolutely right at the top end of where we needed to be on available phosphate for the plant. The only question I've got is, will it carry on, and will we actually mineralize more than what the soil needs, or will the soil naturally balance itself out? Only time will tell on that one. But it's a very, very interesting subject to do some, if I can find some partners who's willing to do it, to do some evaluation of nitrogen runoff from this catchment area after it's gone through our biochar filtration and through the pond which is next to this field. So it should be way up. Ooh, it's a bit dodgy this morning. It's a bit sketchy. I don't want to end up in the stream down there. Anyway, that's that field done. and we'll go and carry on with the main field now. It's pretty amazing really. As soon as we've had rain now for the last couple of weeks, off and on, not enough to actually soak in, but it's certainly been enough to bring the grass back to life, and it's now starting to look more like you would expect in September, so we'll be able to back off the amount of haylage we've been feeding. We've had to feed a supplementary feed now for about 4 or 5 weeks. Actually put in some of the well-rotted manure on the cutting ground on the basis we should get a good recovery and hopefully get a nice cut in first, second week of October, fingers crossed. Well, it's one of the other nice things about when you're using Biochar Amended Farmyard Manure is you get such a fast decomposition that it's almost like putting powder on. You can't really see where you've been. In fact, this morning I went over a patch that I'd already done. I couldn't even see where I'd actually put it. And what I'm planning on doing next year is put in the field I'm on now 20 acres of hemp down, because having growing the hemp on the 10 acres and that will be reseeded, the extra keep that will grow will allow us to do 20 acres, I believe, of this field into hemp, and we'll still get enough forage because we're going to do it after our first silage cut. So the plan is get a first silage cut first week of May next year. 2025 it was cold, east wind, north wind or east wind from January right the way through to the end of March, and then it just didn't rain, so crops were really poor. And being a marginal farm like this is, just on the 700 to 800 foot above sea level, it's not a hill, it's marginal, but you do suffer when you get the spring that's colder than normal. The growth becomes quite a lot later. You then get the hemp in after, and 20 acres is a lot more economic to grow for what we're looking for. And I think the way things are looking at, we're going to look for other farmers in the area that might be interested in growing hemp to supply it. Predominantly our situation is we grow it, we forage it, we ensile it and we biochar it. That's the fallback position, which looks like it's going to work out quite well. The biochar that we produce looks really nice, and we got a firm down in Bristol that are developing a plasterboard replacement with lime and hemp and miscanthus, and they want to include hemp biochar or miscanthus biochar into it, which would be great because it'll give us a real nice value added crop that is a break crop as you reseed. I mean, one thing we will never do, we will never use glyphosate on this farm. Our sum total is some spot spraying with a knapsack sprayer, mainly on thistles, because I can't come up with a solution to control thistles without use of spot spraying, other than pulling them out by hand. I think those days are well gone. Well, for me anyway. If I bend down to pick a thistle up, hey, I ain't going to stand up again. Well, I'm exaggerating, no, it's not that bad. It'll be interesting to see how things go next year now, because like I said earlier on, I've just put the manure on the small field of reseed we did, and then we'll be doing the ground we've harvested the hemp on later today, and then that will be reseeded at the end of September. I'm trying to do a little bit of drainage on that field if I can before then. Otherwise, if that weren't doing that, I would actually get it seeded this week. But that's not going to happen, so we'll just have to hope that the weather doesn't break too much by the end of September, but it should be all right. I'm actually coming to the conclusion that this no-till on grassland is not really, doesn't work without chemical inputs. So the good old traditional plough once every 5 years turns all the microbiology upside down. But I think because you turn it inside, and then and as long as you feed the new surface with plenty of manure, plenty of biochar in it, you'll just actually improve the soil biome.